It was 2:17 a.m. when the emergency dispatcher's screen lit up with an incoming call. GPS location blinking somewhere in rural Texas. Calls like this usually meant one of two things. Someone was in serious trouble, or someone was too afraid to speak. The dispatcher, a woman named Karen, who had worked emergency lines for nearly 12 years, clicked the answer button. Her voice was calm, professional, trained to sound like safety even in the middle of chaos. 911. What is your emergency? At first, all she heard was breathing. Slow, uneven, almost like someone had been running. There was no voice, no words, just the faint sound of air rushing in and out of someone's lungs. Hello, this is 911. Can you tell me what's happening? It sounded like footsteps, slow, careful, as if someone was trying not to be heard. Karen straightened in her chair. Sir, or ma'am, if you can hear me, you need to tell me where you are. Still nothing, just breathing. And now, something else, a quiet rustling sound, like fabric brushing against a wall. Karen typed quickly, marking the call as open line with distress sounds. These were the most dangerous types of calls. The person might be hiding, they might be injured, or someone might be standing right next to them. Listen to me, Karen said softly. If you're in danger, try to make any noise. Tap the phone, cough, anything. There was a faint tap, one, then another. Karen's heart dropped. Okay, I hear you. You're doing great. Help is on the way. She signaled a nearby supervisor to trace the GPS. The location came back slowly, almost reluctantly. It pointed to a stretch of road miles away from the nearest town. No houses, no businesses, just woods. And an old abandoned service road. Karen tried again. Can you tell me your name? The breathing suddenly stopped. For a few seconds, the line was completely silent. Then, a whisper broke through. Help. It was barely audible, but it was enough. I'm here, Karen said quickly. Help is coming. Can you tell me what happened? There was movement now. Fast movement. The sound of someone shifting, maybe crawling, maybe running. Then a new sound appeared on the line. Footsteps. They were heavier than the first ones, slower, more deliberate. Karen froze. Are you alone right now? The caller's breathing returned, sharper than before. Panicked, the footsteps grew louder. Please stay on the line, Karen begged. You're not alone anymore. Just keep the phone with you. A muffled sound followed, like someone covering the speaker. The footsteps stopped. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then a voice, not the caller's, spoke softly into the phone. Wrong number. The line went dead. Karen stared at her screen. The call had ended. She tried to call back immediately. No answer. Again, nothing. Police were already being dispatched to the GPS location. But Karen felt something cold settle in her chest. That voice hadn't sounded confused. It hadn't sounded surprised. It had sounded calm. Like whoever had spoken knew exactly what they were doing. Across town, Officer Miguel Alvarez was halfway through his shift when the call came in. Possible kidnapping. Open 911 line. Caller went silent. He turned his cruiser toward the location without hesitation. The GPS led him down a narrow road surrounded by thick trees. The headlights barely cut through the darkness. No streetlights, no houses, just endless woods on both sides. When he finally reached the marked spot, there was nothing there. No car, no person, no sign of a struggle. Just an old dirt road, and a single cell phone lying in the middle of it. Miguel stepped out slowly, his hand resting on his weapon. The night was silent, too silent. He picked up the phone. The screen was cracked, but it was still warm, meaning someone had dropped it only moments ago. Miguel looked around, scanning the tree line. "Police!" he called out. "Is anyone here?" No answer. Only the sound of wind moving through the leaves. Back at dispatch, Karen waited for any update. When she heard about the phone, her stomach twisted. The caller had been right there. Who had answered the phone at the end? Officer Miguel stared at the phone in his gloved hand. The cracked screen still showed the emergency call timer, frozen at the exact second the line went dead. Q? Whoever had been holding it had not ended the call. They had dropped it. He slowly turned in a full circle. The trees around him felt closer now, like they were watching. Miguel radioed in. "I've got a phone at the location. No sign of the caller. Requesting backup." As he waited, he noticed something on the ground near the phone. A drag mark. Thin lines in the dirt, leading away from the road and into the forest. Miguel followed it carefully, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. After only a few steps, the smell hit him. Blood. Not much. Just a faint metallic scent mixed with wet earth. The drag marks grew deeper. Something or someone had been pulled. About 20 feet into the trees, he found a torn piece of fabric stuck on a branch. It looked like part of a sleeve, and it was still damp. Miguel felt his pulse rise. Whoever had called 911 had been here. They just hadn't left on their own. Backup arrived minutes later. 2 more officers and a K9 unit joined the search. The dog immediately picked up a scent from the phone. It led them deeper into the woods. The trail twisted through thick brush, over fallen branches, and across a shallow creek. Then, suddenly, it stopped. The dog sat down and refused to move. Right in front of them was a small clearing. In the center of it stood an old hunting cabin. The door was slightly open. Miguel approached slowly, every instinct screaming at him to be careful. "Police," he called. "Come out with your hands up." No response. He pushed the door open. Inside, the air was stale and heavy. A single lantern flickered in the corner, and on the floor was the caller. A young woman, barely conscious, her hands tied, her mouth taped. Blood ran down the side of her face. Miguel rushed forward. "You're safe," he said, cutting the tape. "We've got you." Tears filled her eyes as she tried to speak. He heard her voice. "Who?" Miguel asked. "The dispatcher," she whispered. He said he liked the way she sounded calm. Miguel's blood ran cold. The man who had taken her hadn't been a stranger. He had been listening to the 911 call. The woman explained everything. She had been driving home when someone forced her off the road. He had pretended to be injured, then attacked her when she stopped. While he was distracted, she had managed to call 911. She never got the chance to speak. He had been right there, listening, waiting, and when Karen had spoken, he had smiled. "He picked up my phone," the woman said softly. "He told her it was the wrong number. Then he left me here and ran." The police later caught the man a few miles away. He had a history of targeting people in isolated places. But what made this case different was that he had used the 911 call itself as part of his control. The call that was meant to save a life almost became the thing that ended it.